for the award presentation.
Mr. Peercy. Give us a report on the SCTP tonight, please.
Did I do the wrong one?
Good morning, Commissioners. My name is J.W. Worthing, and I've had the privilege of being with the Tennessee Wildlife Federation's Programs Director for the past 3 years. It's been a pleasure to come before you again to report on some of the successes from a lot of our programs, including the Tennessee Scholastic Clay Target Program. First and foremost, I'd like to thank you guys for your continued support of SCTP. What you all do as commission, as individuals and agency employees, has really had a profound impact on our ability to be successful, not only in this program, but to reach youth and parents across the whole state. And in a minute, I'm going to let Andrew go through some of the highlights and successes of really last year's season. But first, I wanted to kind of explain a little bit how SCTP is really just the first step in an overall pathway to really get youth involved, from taking a youth from never handled a firearm, getting them into the woods, and turning them into hunters and fishermen. As you can see here on the screen, we've got 3 different logos, but all of that really starts with SCTP. It's really the catalyst and has made us be successful. We've been able to leverage SCTP's success and raise additional funding from the private sector to actually create additional programs like you see here. So the Hunters for the Hungry program and the New Youth Hunts program. And I want to take just a minute. We're going to discuss that pathway in a minute. But first I wanted to kind of give you the science behind it, the why. And what you see here is the R3 adoption model. And this is outdoor recreation, but it really goes for anything. For any youth to adopt or to take on an activity, they have to go through these stages. And the 3 R's, as you see, are recruitment, retention, and reactivation. And a youth is going to make many decisions along that way, and it's a long process. But the couple pieces I wanted to point out is the green bubble that you see around all 3 phases is social support. And that's what's really critical. And that's why we train and vet our coaches in SCTP. And the end goal of this is really for the youth to be able to self-identify. We want to turn them into saying, yeah, I've been hunting. So they say, I am a hunter, or I am a shooter, or an outdoorsman, or outdoorswoman. And I want to touch back on that pathway that we spoke about a minute ago. And that all starts with SCTP. But the first step that a youth takes on this pathway is we get them into hunter's education. And once they've taken hunter's education, then they can join SCTP. Then we surround them with like-minded youth and those trained coaches for that social support. And then we introduce them to the outdoors through our youth hunting and fishing program, which is the next step. And, you know, there's a couple different ways that they can engage there. They can go on a short one-day dove hunt, or they can graduate to our new Huntmaster initiative, which really immerses the youth and the parents in a 3-day outdoor experience. That includes primitive camping and primitive cooking. It also, again, with trained and vetted volunteers as mentors for these youth. We teach them critical skill sets and give them the resources that they need to be successful on their own in the future, which is the goal. And we teach them critical concepts like field to table, for example. And from there on that pathway, we start to teach them to learn to give back through programs like Hunger Challenge in the Hunters for the Hungry program. And what Hunger Challenge really does, it's a school program that works through schools and even works with FFA and 4-H. And the youth, it's a point-based system, and the youth compete against other schools in their region and their state. And the youth are rewarded in 3 main areas. 1, for donating deer themselves or for getting deer donated. They also fundraise to raise processing dollars in their area. And then they also meet and give speeches in their local area, all of which really address hunger relief in their area. And most of these kids, I'm going to tell you, have never seen hunger before. You take kids from Williamson County, and it's amazing to see the transformation when they really see what hunger looks like and they hear that there are kids at their school, at their table, that are getting relief from these programs. So finally, after that, then we go to the next step. We engage in our advocacy work and our conservation policy and letting them really understand the current challenges across Tennessee, like public lands or water issues. So as you can see, this pathway is really looking to produce citizens that we take from youth to adulthood, that in the end, they self-identify as hunters, they buy licenses, and they're really hunters and anglers that help support the North American model of conservation that we all love and appreciate. And because of your continued support of SCTP as that first step and that catalyst, that pathway is really a reality in Tennessee. So I'm now going to turn it over to Andrew Peercy. He's going to go through some of the successes of last year's SCTP. And then we've got a special guest today with us that's really going to show how our unique pathway has affected her life and her career aspirations. So, Andrew.
Thank you, JW, and thank you, Commission, for this opportunity this morning. Tennessee has had another successful year with SCTP. We had 1,876 athletes from across the state. They range in ages 9 through college and participate in trap, skeet, and sporting clays. From our athletes, our parents, our coaches, and our other volunteers, we evaluate that we impact over 5,000 individuals a year, all at different points along that pathway that JW mentioned. In addition to the TWSCB athletes, we have our capstone of our state shoot. And each year it continues to grow and expand and get bigger and better. This year we had 1,337 athletes that braved the heat and the remnants of Tropical Storm Cindy and competed in a vast majority with all 3 disciplines. So our actual number of registrants was well over 2,000, but only encompassed about 1,300 athletes. Then later, 419 athletes went on to our national championships at Marengo, Ohio. And we brought home 15 national titles, in addition to numerous other places across the state, making us one of the most recognized states for over 10 years running. The Federation is also pleased to receive feedback from several participants, the quality of our state shoot in comparison to the national shoot, and many of them say we surpassed the ability there. This past season, we concentrated on enhancing 3 facets of the overall program. These came from regular feedback from our coaches and parents and other volunteers. First was to boost our coach training. Like JW mentioned, our coaches serve as mentors, and we have to provide that social support. And this is the key element. We're in the process of developing enhanced and advanced training opportunities for our coaches to better help them train the athletes and work with them as motivators and mentors. This includes opportunities from Olympic-level shooters such as Terry DeWitt and renowned sporting clay shooter Dan Carlisle. We're continuing to add these opportunities in the coming year and really support the youth and growth of our youth today. Second, we expand our competitions. Try to give more and more local competitions through local gun clubs. This past March, we held our first Ironman competition. We had roughly 90 athletes that participated, shooting 300 targets over the weekend of 100 trap, 100 skeet, and 100 sporting clays. Everyone had a blast. And then we work on our ranges. We had the opportunity to assist in several location development and expansion this past year. JW was able to visit with community leaders to advocate on new ranges at Lone Oaks and in Medina, Tennessee. And former Commissioner Bledsoe and myself had the pleasure to speak to the City Council in Crossville to advocate for that new range up there that is under construction. Now, as we all said, this would not be possible without the help and support of many of you all here today. Several agency members serve as head and assistant coaches and work directly with teams. And there's a handful of you commissioners that I would like to recognize. First is Commissioner King, who's been a supporter of the teams in Clarksville and really helped out to those. Next is Commissioner Box, who is working to get a new team at University School of University School of Jackson. And then there's Commissioner McLaren. He's a coach and helped start the team there in Clay County and has done quite well since it started. Not only is his daughter an accomplished shooter, but she's able to come on several of our youth hunts. Now, we talked about our pathway, and today we have Rachael Irby. She is a student that graduated from Centennial High School and currently at Mississippi State. She's participated on her team there, the Hunger Challenge team through Centennial High School, and been involved in several of our youth hunts. So without further ado, I'll bring her up to the mic.
Thank you, Mr. Peercy. My name is Rachael Irby. I'm currently a freshman at Mississippi State University. I started shooting my sophomore year with Centennial High School's clay target team. And before then, I had never even picked up a shotgun before in my life. I had just started deer hunting that year. And I've loved every minute of it. It's been a great way for me to get out and make new friends and get out in the outdoors still. I've been able to go to regionals, state, and all sorts of different ATA shoots across the state. And then my junior and senior year, I was able to go to Ohio for nationals, which was great to have a team bonding experience and really shoot at a big competition. I was first really introduced to the TWF Youth Hunting and Fishing Program with last spring. I was drawn for a youth hunt, for a turkey hunt, and I was able to harvest my first turkey. The most important thing I got out of that weekend, though, is I was able to sit down with Non, who was the youth hunting and fishing coordinator, and we sat down and discussed my future and my educational goals. And he really opened my eyes and showed me there's more than just being able to go into a normal police officer position, and that I shouldn't just study criminal justice. I should do something that makes me stand out as an individual. So with that, I ended up leaving the hunt, and I decided to change my major to conservation law enforcement within the College of Forest Resources at Mississippi State University. So now I shoot for the shooting sports team there, and it's been a great experience. They welcome me really well as a family, and I've been able to go to Missouri, Arkansas, and Alabama already as a freshman, which is not that common, so I've been really blessed with that. So I also love to volunteer with TWF, and their youth hunts now. I get to work side by side with Non, and I get to get my foot in the door into wildlife conservation, and it's been an amazing experience. So now I also am in the Wildlife Law Enforcement Club in the College of Forestry, and so that gives us hands-on experience and being able to gain the skills we need when after we graduate, we go into conservation officer training, and we're expected to be doing things such as handgun training with the Starkville Police Department, and hopefully getting our ATV certification with the Mississippi Parks and Wildlife. So after I graduate, I really plan to go into go do some basic law enforcement training and then conservation officer training. And overall goal is to become a game warden. And to be honest, none of this would have been possible without SCTP for opening all these doors for me, and I wouldn't even be thinking about that as a career option. So I'm really thankful for everything they've done for me. So thank you.
Rachael, thank you so much for sharing that with us, because it's so great for us to hear that that's exactly what we want these programs to accomplish, and what a great story. And it's not only for social reasons, for academic reasons, even your career is influenced by that. So thank you very much, and good luck to you.
Yeah, I wasn't aware that Mississippi State or Alabama or whoever's got a shooting team, so they've got a trap ski. Is it a club? Is it a scholarship? Yes.
We have two universities in Tennessee, Bethel and Martin Methodist, that offer scholarships. UT Martin has an active team. Tennessee Tech used to have a team, and so did MTSU. And I know University of Tennessee has kind of had a club, and Vanderbilt's had a club over the past few years. So there's a large number of states across the country. I don't have the complete list, but I know Alabama, Kentucky, most of the SEC schools all have teams, and they compete in the ACUIs, which are held latter part of March, first part of April, different from the national SCTP. So ACUI is kind of the non-NCAA sports for the college world. They're considered the intramural sports. So like lacrosse and things.
Program at NCAA?
It is not an NCAA, it's a full ACUI. But,
They do give
yeah,
full scholarship.
they do get full scholarships, yeah. NCAA doesn't recognize shooting sports yet.
Maybe we don't ever want them to do it, somebody else.
Much like TWS, they recognize our program, but the Wildlife Federation governs it.
Well, Rachel is exactly why we invested in the program. I mean, it's, to have kids grow up and do what you're doing, hunt, fish, and then perhaps go into law enforcement or, you know, wildlife officer is just fantastic. And congratulations, and we appreciate what you're doing. And I hope there are a lot more kids growing up to young people like she is and participating. That we're doing it.
Thank you, Mr. Cox. You said exactly what I wanted to say in wrap-up. So, thank you all for your time.
I had something before you run away, if you got a moment. First, I'd like to say, Rachel, you look a little different than the last time I saw you when we were bow hunting. She came to the blind to get us when it was time to go. And I'd like to say thank you to the TWF for allowing us the opportunity to support our team and go on the travels that we've been on. Just in, with my small team in, 3 years now, we've been to Illinois, Ohio, and Colorado already. So it's been a journey, and thank you.
Thank you.
Just one thing I noticed, seems like Mississippi State seems to be ahead of Ole Miss in this. I just wanted to point that out. One of our commissioners, I won't mention any names, Mr. Cox, but just wanted to make sure you realize that. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We need to.
You know what we call that? Fake news.
So how about we take a quick break and let's get started at Commissioner Stroud and I are going duck hunting. So let's get started back at 11 and we'll wrap it up. We don't have too much left.